Because sometimes, the most terrifying monsters don't hide in the dark. They hide in plain sight.
Welcome back to The Shadows of Justice, where we uncover the darkest, most unsettling stories that often go unnoticed until it's too late. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Some stories are meant to be heard, and tonight's is one of them.
March 5th, 2015. A quiet suburb in Maplewood County. Houses lined up like models in a real estate brochure. White fences, manicured lawns, and mailboxes that gleamed under the morning sun. The neighborhood looked perfect, almost too perfect. But behind one of those painted doors, inside a two-story home on Rosewood Lane, something dark was breathing quietly beneath the surface. Emma Hill was 16, smart, restless, and desperate to escape the walls of her home, a home ruled by one woman's will. Her mother, Margaret Hill, 42. To the world, she was the definition of perfection. Polished smile, crisp clothes, the parent every school newsletter praised. The ideal mother, they called her. But perfection can hide decay. Neighbors saw her every morning, watering her roses, waving politely. Always polite, always proper. No one questioned the way her eyes darted toward her house, as if afraid something might be out of place. Inside, everything was arranged by Margaret's rules. Color-coded shelves, spotless floors, meals served exactly at 6. But what she couldn't control was her daughter's growing defiance. Emma wanted freedom, music, friends, dreams. Margaret wanted order, silence, obedience. In her diary, Emma wrote, "Mom says she loves me, but her love feels like a cage." It was the last diary entry anyone would read before she vanished. March 5th started like any other day. The Hill house spotless, the air tight with routine. Breakfast was quiet. Margaret reminded Emma about curfew again. Emma rolled her eyes again. But this time, the silence that followed wasn't the usual one. It was heavy, final. Witnesses later recalled hearing raised voices, something about a scholarship, a phone call, and a friend Margaret didn't approve of. Then a sound, something slamming, a door, a scream, and then silence. By evening, Emma Hill was gone. Margaret called the police 2 hours later, her voice trembling just enough to sound believable. "She ran away," she told them. "She's been distant lately. Teenagers, you know?" Her tone was carefully measured, a mix of concern and helplessness. Detectives noted that she never once asked if Emma might be hurt, only if they'd found her yet. At first, the community rallied behind her. Posters went up, volunteers searched parks, bus stations, back roads. Margaret stood at the center of every photo, the grieving mother, holding her daughter's picture, eyes red but perfectly made up. She played her role well. Too well. Detective Lisa Harper, a 15-year veteran of Maplewood PD, was the first to notice the cracks. She said there was something off. Margaret didn't cry like a mother, she cried like a performer. Harper started digging, and the deeper she went, the darker it got. You see, Margaret Hill lived for image. Her house wasn't just clean, it was curated. Every photo, every decoration told a story of family bliss. But there was no photo of Emma past age 13. The more she looked, the more she realized the Hill family's picture-perfect life was just that, a picture, nothing more. Behind closed doors, Emma's world was smaller than anyone imagined. No phone calls after 8 p.m., no friends over, every message, every email monitored. In one diary entry, Emma wrote, "I told Mom I want to go to college out of state. She said I'm ungrateful, that I'll embarrass her. She said I'm lucky she loves me because no one else will. The last line was underlined twice. The following morning, Margaret hosted a neighborhood prayer gathering for her missing daughter. Neighbors remember her composure. No tears, no trembling. Just a woman clutching a framed photo like a prop. Detective Harper watched quietly from the sidewalk, something twisting in her gut. When the event ended, she approached Margaret, just to talk. "Mrs. Hill, is there anything at all you haven't told us?" Margaret's answer was quick, too quick. "Of course not, Detective. My daughter ran away, that's all there is to it." Then she smiled. But the smile didn't reach her eyes. Harper knew then something was wrong.
By the second week, search teams found nothing. No footprints. No witnesses who saw Emma leave. Just silence. That's when a neighbor came forward, Mrs. Landers from across the street. She claimed she saw Margaret's car leaving the house around 2 a.m. the night Emma disappeared. Alone. No headlights. Margaret said she couldn't sleep, but she couldn't explain why her phone was off for 5 hours that night. The perfect mother was starting to crack. Detective Harper ordered a search warrant for the Hill home. Inside, officers found bleach stains in the basement, a locked trunk with Emma's clothes neatly folded, and her phone hidden in the kitchen drawer. The call logs had been wiped, but fragments of deleted texts remained. Emma, Mom, please, I can't do this anymore. Margaret, you'll thank me someday.
When Harper read that message, she whispered under her breath, "This isn't love, it's control." If you lived next door to the Hills, would you have suspected anything? Would you have believed the smiles or the silence? Let me know in the comments. Because sometimes, the most terrifying monsters don't hide in the dark. They hide in plain sight. And in Margaret Hill's case, her secret was just beginning to surface. The Hill house sat at the edge of Rosewood Lane like a painting frozen in time. Curtains always drawn halfway. Lawn trimmed to perfection. The kind of home that made people whisper, they must be doing something right. But behind that front door, perfection came at a cost. Margaret Hill ruled her home with precision. Every sound, every movement, every breath in that house had a rhythm she dictated. Dinner was at 6. Dishes washed by 6:30. Homework checked at 7. Lights out by 9. To outsiders, it was discipline. To Emma, it was a prison with floral wallpaper. Emma used to stare at her bedroom ceiling, tracing the cracks like constellations. She wondered what freedom felt like, what it would be like to laugh without fear of correction, to breathe without being watched. Her only outlet was her diary, a small blue book hidden under the floorboard near her bed. In it, she wrote things she couldn't say out loud. My mom checks my texts now. She says I'm talking to the wrong people. I told her I want to study art. She said art won't feed me. Sometimes I dream about packing a bag and walking out the door. She drew a small sketch at the corner of one page. A girl standing at an open gate, light pouring through. The title read, Someday. But someday never came, because Margaret saw everything. One evening, she walked in without knocking. Emma froze. The diary was still open on the bed. Margaret's eyes scanned the page, her expression blank at first, then something darker. Is this how you see me? She asked quietly. Emma didn't answer. Margaret's voice didn't rise. It didn't have to. It was the kind of tone that could cut without volume. I do everything for you, Emma.
everything, and this is how you repay me? By writing lies?" Emma tried to speak, but Margaret snapped the diary shut and said, "You'll thank me one day. You'll understand that rules keep you safe." That night, the diary disappeared. It was the first time Emma thought about running away for real. She started packing a small bag, jeans, hoodie, some cash from her babysitting job. She hid it behind a loose panel in her closet, but Margaret noticed everything. By morning, the bag was gone, and in its place, a handwritten note on the dresser. "There is no life for you without me." Emma didn't go to school that day. She didn't argue. She didn't cry. She just sat quietly at the breakfast table while her mother hummed to the sound of the coffee pot. The silence between them said more than any words could. Days turned into weeks, and the atmosphere in the house thickened, the air heavy with control. Margaret began isolating Emma completely. No friends, no extracurriculars, no visits to the mall. To the outsiders, Margaret was the devoted mother protecting her troubled daughter. To Emma, she was the warden of a world that kept shrinking. Then came March 5th, 2015, the day everything cracked. Emma had been offered a summer program at an art school in another state. Her art teacher, Miss Caldwell, had personally recommended her. It was a chance, maybe her only one, to step into the light. When she told her mother, her fork froze mid-air. "You don't need art school," she said flatly. "You need structure." "It's just for the summer," Emma pleaded. "I'll be back before senior year." Margaret stood up slowly, her voice tightening like a noose. "You're not going anywhere, Emma, not while I am alive." The words echoed through the room like a verdict. Emma's chest tightened. "You can't control me forever." Margaret turned, and for the first time, her mask slipped. Her eyes weren't angry. They were cold, determined. "Oh, but I can." She reached for Emma's phone, scrolling through messages from Ms. Caldwell and a friend named Lauren. Her jaw clenched. "You've been planning this behind my back?" Emma tried to take it back, but Margaret's hand struck before she could speak. Not hard enough to bruise, but enough to silence. Then almost immediately she gasped, like she couldn't believe what she had done. But instead of apologizing, she whispered, "You forced my hand." Emma ran upstairs, locking herself in her room. Her hands trembled as she dialed Lauren's number. No answer. She left a voicemail, one that would later become evidence. "Lauren, it's me. She's losing it. I think she's going to—" The recording cut off abruptly. Downstairs, Margaret stood by the front door, breathing heavily. The world outside looked peaceful. Neighbors walked their dogs, children rode bicycles. No one could hear what was happening inside the Hill home.
She looked up at the ceiling, toward Emma's room, and whispered, "I can't lose you to them." Hours passed. The sun went down. The lights in the Hill house stayed off. Around 10 p.m., a neighbor, Mr. Jennings, reported hearing a loud argument followed by what he described as a heavy thud. No one called the police. It was Maplewood. Things like that didn't happen there. By midnight, the house was silent. The next morning, Margaret told the world that Emma had run away. She spoke to the responding officers with calm precision, as if she'd practiced every word. "She's been upset lately," she said. "We had a disagreement. I told her to cool off. I woke up and she was gone." Her tone never wavered, not once. But when Detective Harper reviewed the scene, something didn't add up. No signs of forced entry, no suitcase missing, no footprints outside the window. Harper asked Margaret when she'd last seen her daughter. Last night, around 9. And when did you go to bed? Shortly after. Did you hear anything unusual? No, Margaret said, smiling faintly. It was just another quiet night. But the sound of silence, Harper thought, can hide a lot of noise. That same day, Harper requested Emma's phone records. Half of the outgoing messages from that night had been deleted. Half, but not all. At 9:47 p.m., Emma texted Lauren, "If I don't come to school tomorrow, it's because she found out." That single message cracked open the illusion. Harper returned to the Hill house with a search warrant the next morning. Margaret stood at the door in a beige sweater, smiling like a hostess greeting a guest. "Detective, again, haven't you already looked everywhere?" "Not quite," Harper said, stepping inside. She noticed something immediately, the faint metallic smell near the basement door. Margaret saw her pause. "Oh, that's just bleach. I cleaned down there yesterday." "Mind if I take a look?" Margaret hesitated, then she smiled. "Of course not." The basement was spotless, too spotless. But in the corner, beneath a loose floor tile, Harper found something that made her pulse quicken. A small hair tie, bright purple. It matched the one Emma was wearing in her last school photo. Harper pocketed it silently, her eyes flicking back to Margaret. "She's not coming back, is she?" Harper asked quietly. Margaret's lips parted, a faint tremor breaking through her calm. "You don't know what you're talking about." Harper didn't reply. She just turned and walked upstairs, already knowing this case was about to spiral into something far darker than anyone expected.